What's up? It's Matt Plapp. We are back again live, and we're live with somebody that I think everybody in the restaurant business knows. And if you don't, you need to get your butt to Amazon. I'll have the link on here a little later. We're here with David Scott Peters, Restaurant Prosperity Formula. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. You're kind of all over the place. I mean, I see you everywhere, man. You're LinkedIn, you're freaking on YouTube, you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook. I mean, I'm just trying to keep up with you. That's all I'm trying to do. So just keep running.
I'm trying to keep up with myself. I say sometimes I have plaplash that I sometimes can't stand seeing myself. And as we get into this, I'm going to let everybody know if you comment on any of the posts on Facebook, because we're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. I've got an extra copy of his book. So comment on there, your restaurant, and what you need this book to help you with. And I'm just going to randomly pick somebody to get a copy of the book.
It's awesome. Thank you.
So I guess tell us about you and about your business.
Well, long story short, grew up in my family's restaurant and catering business back in Linwood, New Jersey. I worked for the toughest manager I know. So if you ever worked for your mom, you know it sucks, right? She rode my sister and I twice as hard as anybody else. While I hated it, she did me a favor. I had a work ethic like nobody else around me. Took those skill sets, worked eventually for an independent brew pub and cafe here in Phoenix, Arizona in the early 90s when brew pubs were opening one a week. And it was magic. Our first location was cash cow. Hand over fist money. Our second location was like owning a boat, a hole in the water in which you throw money. And that's where I learned the importance of systems. That's where I learned the importance of how cash pays your bills, profits don't. And as my career elevated, I ended up being at a franchisor called Famous Sam's, where guys bought the company, would take it public, or open 8 stores. I redid the training, brought in my own team, and under a year, they damn near bankrupted the company. So I left the sinking ship, and I taught at Scottsdale Culinary Institute, management, human resources, wines and spirits. My chefy types don't ask me about food. I can't cook, but I can run any of your kitchens with the right systems. And then I was asked to come back to Famous Sam's to turn it around as the chief operating officer, to sell it from near bankruptcy in a 5-year period. I missed that by 3 months. And since 2003, I've been coaching independent restaurants. I started a company that actually started as a restaurant training coach company, built online software, and after 17 years, my business partner and a group of investors bought me out. And so now I'm davidscottpeters.com, Take Action Enterprises LLC, and I'm literally just helping independent restaurants not only survive, but thrive in the sea of chain restaurants out there. Learn to make the money they deserve, have the freedom from their business. That's what I do. I'm a systems guy.
Cool. And I love it because I can relate from both sides in that for probably my first 15 years as a professional, as an adult, systems were obsolete. You know, my dad is watching live right now somewhere. I can see his name on here. And him and I are not systems guys. Like we have a hard time, like a system, like maintaining a car. So we weren't that way. And then this last 4 years as my business has grown, because I thrived on being myself and Ashley, a one employee company up until about 5 years ago. And I went, wow, we've got an opportunity to take this bigger. I can't just take it bigger and tell people, hey, just do something. We had to SOPs. We had to have very systematic processes that we can hire and fire people quick, that we can launch campaigns quick and manage them. And those are near and dear to me. So it's funny. I've become more and more systems oriented. Now I just got to figure out how to put systems into my life outside of work, because I fall apart there.
No, hey man, it's all about imposing your will without being there, but nobody can help you in your home life, man. You know, it's kind of like people ask me, oh, you're a numbers guy, you're a systems guy, whatever. I used to be an improv comic. I was a speech comm major. I'm not naturally a systems guy. The systems will allow me at workplace to create a habit. Like I can learn to put something to a spreadsheet or a software and analyze those numbers. I'm like most restaurant owners. I like to create, do the next thing, do something bigger that's more fun, but you have to get the little shit done. And you've got to make sure it's done the right way all the time. And that's where the systems come in. And so whether you and I are these ADD personalities, like to do different things and maybe aren't so focused outside of work, the systems give you laser focus on exactly what you want done, how you want it done, how well you want it done, by when. And now that's how we get things done. I mean, that's truly it.
Yeah. So a couple things in the book. I got some notes, some things that stuck out to me. I just want to get your thoughts on, and then of course, anything you want to talk about with regards to it. Something that caught my attention was it was the foreword that somebody wrote in there, that you can walk in a restaurant and find 10 grand from the front to back of the building. What are a couple of the key places that you have found that you find that $10,000 that restaurants are just throwing it away?
Well, I'll give you, there's basically three places. There's the big home run places. I can guarantee you that with 2 clipboard systems, key item report, waste sheet, and a purchase allotment system, a system I teach that'll tells your managers, your chef, your bar manager, how much money they can spend on the next order, allowing you to give up ordering without giving up your checkbook. I guarantee people a 2 to 3 point drop in your food cost within 2-3 months. So that's no big, that's a home run kind of thing. Another home run thing is I have another system called the labor allotment system that I tell your managers how many hours they have to spend, literally hours, not money, next week based on your budget. And that can reduce labor costs within 1 or plus points, depending on what you're bleeding. But the truth of the matter is, when I walk into your restaurant, I look around, I can see little $200 savings everywhere. And the truth of the matter is, if we were sitting, let's say I was in your business and pretend you're a restaurateur, and I say, hey, Matt, there's $200 under your chair because I'm looking at, employees grabbing napkins, stacks like this, coming out with chicken wings. I'm looking at people taking 4-ounce portion cups for ranch dressing instead of the 2 that's called for. And we look at these little tiny things like, hey, Matt, do you want that $200 under your chair? Your answer wouldn't be yes, be hell yes. And you'd snatch it as fast as you could. Well, we're tripping over $200 savings everywhere in our business. While I love the first 2 examples, those are the home runs. Hey, David, you helped me save $80,000 a year on labor costs with this one little system. The truth is, it's the little changes all the way down the P&L that really magnify, because $1,000 change is $12,000 in a year. Like it sounds wonderful as a marketing thing, but it's so easy to find 10 grand. It's ridiculous, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, it does completely. The first thing that pops in my mind, as you said it, is condiments. Fast food restaurants crack me up. Like, I had a lady the other day, me and my dad and somebody, I think where we were at, but we went through and we got ketchup and salt for something, and we had like 30 packs of salt. I'm like,
that's right.
Are you trying to kill us? Did like our wives call you? Because like we only used 2 or 3. My dad might have used 2 or 3 himself. We only used a couple of them. And then those just get thrown away.
Yeah.
I had a joke back in the 10, 15 years ago. I told my wife I had this great business idea. It was a joke, but it was also kind of serious. I said, I'm going to go around to McDonald's and just go through the drive-thru and ask for ketchup. And I'm going to build up a giant assortment of ketchup, and I'm going to sell it back to them. Yeah.
Go,
hey, I can get your ketchup at half price. And then just have people go around the country and get ketchup because they'll give it to you. So
no, it happens everywhere. And that's really a reflection of how the manager is in that building. Like, who's the GM? Are we paying attention to little details? We're just, hey man, I got these kids, just show up and do work. And that's company culture. And that's, as I always talk about, I'm the systems guy. The truth of the matter is, all the stuff I teach is easy. It's math, it's counting shit. But it's truly changing your company culture. And that's what ultimately is the change in your business, is when you've impose your will and people know exactly what you want done, do it that way without you being there, to a point where one employee looks at another and says, hey dude, that's not how we do that here. And that's what we're ultimately striving for, is that everybody understands the system, your process, your way. And that's the payoff.
So second thing that caught my attention, I'm a big guy on lifestyle, on mindset, on vacations. I was in a Facebook group the other day that's called Dad Entrepreneurs, and the guy who runs it, Zach, posted, how often do you vacation? And I was blown away to see the people that said every couple of years, haven't had one in 10 years. And I'm like, I had 14 last year. And people are like, what? I'm like, yeah, I don't work to kill myself. I work 2 weeks ago, me and my wife and kids went to Destin. In 4 weeks, my wife and I are going to Dominican Republic. I'll go somewhere in August. I mean, I find ways to combo those up, and I'm probably a little excessive, but I also am a mobile guy. I can work from anywhere. But, bringing balance to people, I think that's something that you talked about in one of the chapters. It talked about bringing balance. You don't just work to pay everybody else. You work to live a good life.
Well, it's really learning, number one, that changing our mindset that a lot of hospitality people, myself included, I call us social workers. We care more about the guest experience, creating the wow customer service experience, the memory. That's what we're put on this earth to do. But then we get really caught up in how we love our food and the presentation. And we can't ever leave our business because we feel like if I go, it won't ever happen my way. Again, not having systems. So we're already built to take care of people, and we're, again, in the social worker kind of stature. We kind of forget we're supposed to make money. And so in order to make the money, not only are we doing all these things ourselves, we're doing it because we have to. We think I've got to cut a cook so I can save $15 an hour and flip a burger when I'm losing thousands of dollars, not budgeting, not marketing, not paying attention and developing my team. And so when you start to say, okay, I've got to run my business profitably, I have responsibility to our guests, number one, because we fulfill a need in the community. I mean, that's why they walk in the door. We have fulfill a need to our employees. That's how they're gainfully employed. They feed their families. Now, granted, half of them drink their paychecks away. Whole nother story. But where we screw up as independent operators is we forget that we have a responsibility to ourselves, our families, and any investors we have, and we may come first, not last. And so while we have to take care of the guests and take care of our employees, we got to take care of ourselves. And if we do, we then have the money to hire people. We have the money to put a full management team in place, which gives us the freedom from the business. We put the systems in place that things are done our way. And now all of a sudden, not only do I have some financial freedom, but I have the freedom to have a life, to be able to enjoy my family, not be a prisoner to that business. And balance is really important. And it's really difficult in our industry because we get into these bad habits. We just kind of follow what we've always seen people do. If you want something done right, rip open the superhero shirt, right? The S is right there. Do it yourself. And you can't. It's impossible to do everything you're supposed to in a restaurant by yourself. And that's why they become prisoners. Yeah,
and that part of your book pulled me back to Profit First by Mike McCowitz. I don't know if you've read that or not, but in there he talks about one of the biggest mistakes businesses make is they pay themselves last. And I remember I was, and for 10 years, my brother, my dad, and myself owned a boat and RV dealership. And we were the number 3 Yamaha Marine Group dealer in the country. And I remember at this meeting, every 3 months, they would fly us to a different casino city, Vegas, Atlantic City, New Jersey. That was how they got us to go somewhere. And we had it was called the Symposium 20. It was the top 20 dealers in the country. And the goal of that was they had experts come in and extract information, why we were the top. They put together a guide, and then they went around. Because just like independent restaurants, all boat dealerships are independent. There is no like franchise system saying how to do it. So this was their goal, their answer. I remember we're sitting there one day and this guy named Noel from Naples had sold his boat dealership. He was a consultant and we're in the room and he's like, okay, everybody raise your hands. Everybody in the room is top 20 Yamaha dealers. So they're doing serious volume. Right. And he goes, everybody in the room, raise your hand that's making over, he kept going up the income ladder. Right. And it got to a point where the only 3 people in the room making above 200 grand a year were me, my dad, and my brother each. And there was guys making 30 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand. And he looked at the one guy and goes, what do you make a year, dude? And the guy's like a $7 million a year boat dealership. And he goes, oh, I make $40,000. He goes, my daughter's 23. She's a pharmaceutical rep. Not to be mean, but she's not a very great salesperson. She's brand new. She's making $150 a year. If I was you, close your dealership, go work for a dealership selling boats. He's like, Matt, what's your top sales guy make? I said, he made 120 last year. Go sell boats for Matt because you shouldn't own a dealership making 40 grand. And I think the problem is that there's a mindset that people think that they're last. Like me personally, like I just bought myself a new car. I bought it for me. It helps me be happy and gives me a purpose. And it makes me run the company better. If I didn't do that, I'd be miserable and the company would run worse. And I think that's what happens with a lot of these small businesses.
Yeah, and I appreciate where you're coming from because, kind of where the book came from was I had a 2020 group. It was a mastermind group of 22 of the most successful restaurateurs I've ever worked with. And they literally went from making nothing to cars, multiple locations, full management teams and operations people running things and having time and doing. And it truly does. When you start to change the mindset, you're going to take care of you. And you realize that you're not screwing the guest and you're not screwing the employee. You're doing what's smart. Because I often, when I speak all over the country and I'll go like, hey, how many of you opened your business to be a charity on purpose? Right. And people laugh, haha. But half my room or more are a charity. And the truth of the matter is, I tell people I have worked with them. They're called churches. And even then I tell them to make more money so they can do more for their flock. You've got to go into this. Say you went into a venture, a business venture, an enterprise. You're supposed to make money. And so sometimes some people have got their own baggage. Like we can't charge enough. I can't. Well, just reply to me. You won't. You won't do these things that are necessary for your business. And it's a mindset. It really is a mindset.
Yeah, I had apologize for the alarm going off. My iPhone has a mind of its own. I don't know what's going on with it.
I got no problems. I keep talking. I don't care. Have it go off, man.
You're perfect. Gary Vaynerchuk said that the other day. I don't know if you follow Gary or not, but he had somebody that he's been doing these like crazy, like 10-hour Instagram conversations, and he had a guy on the other day that's like, man, we got a restaurant, and he's walking through how tough the environment is. He's like, the environment's not tough. You just need to quit running your restaurant poorly and raise your prices and deliver a better product and a better experience. And I crack up with food prices. And that's something else I got in here I want to talk to you about on menu engineering and also pricing, because there's two things to me that surprise me on how they still cost similar: food and airline tickets. Like, I've been booking I just bought my video guy down the Monday from Philadelphia. We're going to shoot some podcast episodes next week in 3 cities. And it cost me like $300 to fly him down here. It was the same price like 20 years ago. Now, granted, there's been efficiencies and things in the airline business, but the restaurant business, every piece of food cost has gone up. Like, chicken wings are stupid now, what they were 20 years ago. Right. But menus, like, restaurants are scared to actually price their menu correctly. And if I eat out, I'm like a restaurant's dream. I literally eat out 15 to 20 times a week. Me and my family, we joke our kitchen divorced us. I don't look at the menu prices. If I go to your place to get buffalo wings and your French fries and your cheese sticks, I couldn't even tell you. Barleycorn's the restaurant we go to in Northern Kentucky. I couldn't tell you what anything on the menu costs.
Right.
I think restaurant owners think about that too much. I mean, would you agree with that?
100%. And by the way, if you can't charge enough for something, it doesn't belong on your freaking menu. Like, if it's crushing you. And what I often find is, so in the book, I talk about the 2 most important systems any restaurant should have are budgets and recipe cost cards. Matt, let me ask you, what do you think the 2 systems most restaurants never have?
Budgets and recipe.
And recipe cost cards. Why? Because they're too hard. Boo frickin' who, right? Cry me a river. You're in the toughest business I know. Literally the toughest business I know. So you have to do these things, and they're proactive management tools. So give me accurate, up-to-date recipe cost cards. Give me your product mix from your POS system. Then we can create, I've got a spreadsheet called the menu profitability monitor. I'll know what your ideal food cost is. No waste, no theft, no spoilage, perfect restaurant, which does not exist. But I know where I should be, not based on a freaking national average I read in a newsletter article from the NRA. Like, this is where my restaurant performs if we did well. Now I can see the gap. And oh, by the way, most restaurants operate 7 to 9 points above their ideal. And a rock star chef would be about 2 points over. So there's this huge gap right there. So when we look at these numbers, we start to see what people buy and what they don't. And if we sort things, what people buy the most to the least in each category, entrees, appetizers, and so on, shit, I'm raising the price in the top 1, 2, 3 items. I'm not even thinking about it. Because if they outsell everything else that well, they're so damn good. They're that damn good at any price. Now, there is a ceiling. Don't get me wrong. Somebody's listening to me going, oh, David, you don't understand my market. Well, maybe you're not delivering the right product to that market, or I get it. There is a ceiling at some point in time. You cannot raise your price on a certain item in your market, but I'd rather be the best at it. But then we start looking at items and we go, what if I could reduce the cost? Well, that could be portion control. If I look at my trash can and we're throwing away a ton of French fries, reduce the portion, don't change the price. Look at your products. Could I do a descending dollar report take all my purchases, put them together, sort them in a spreadsheet. Top 1 through 10 items represent 50% of your buying power. Go to your broadline distributor and say, hey man, if I promise to buy all this from you, can get a better price. Sometimes you get a better price. Dude, I've been giving the best price. Oh, do you have a like quality or better quality product at a cheaper price? Don't buy shitty product. Don't go against your core values. But there are things, when I was a chain operator, we brought in and circumvented advertising money. And so it was there, but nobody ever wanted to tell you about it. It wasn't a trade secret to me. It was just a product. Yeah. You could have it if you asked. And we start going through these things and using the science of eye movement, where I place an item and so on. And so all of a sudden you can unlock 3 to 7 points, reducing your food costs, doing the same damn menu for all intents and purposes, but I got to have recipe cards. And this is where we have to react. And that's where the other systems come in place, inventory and ordering and what have you, that we can scan our invoices and pop them in, because the price of cheese changes routinely. If I'm a barbecue place, we're going through this COVID thing, like, holy crap. If I'm a barbecue place, brisket is up 300% in the last 4 weeks. And if you don't change your prices, if you don't react because you're terrified, what happens? Now, this is where we say, I'm sure you've talked to people talk about pivoting or changing your business in some way. Hey, let's get creative. Let's not say I can't charge enough. I talked to somebody the other day, said I'm going to have to take brisket off my menu. I'm like, you're a freaking barbecue place. You can't do that. How about we take a page out of the fish house and say it's market price? You want to order it. That's what today's price is. Not me. It's freaking market. And so it's just understanding that your menu is the heart of your business. It has everything to do with who you are, the decor you have, the music you have, the uniform, stylist, service, price point. And so it all gets back to that menu, man. And people overlook it. And I can't tell you how many people open brand new restaurants, get 2 weeks out, like spend all this money in architecture and how it looks and the sounds. And they go to their broadline distributor and go, I need a menu. You're like, are you shitting me? Right?
I've actually been at a restaurant, no lie. Like I read that part in your book and I cracked up because I was at a restaurant and I don't do menus. We do digital marketing, things like that. But I'm sitting there. And the owner is on the phone with his beer rep, like, hey, you guys have a printer, right? Yeah, I need to get menus printed. And I'm thinking, what? You've been building this thing for 6 months? And that's what, like, you've been focused on this on the wall and that cool on the ceiling and this tinted glass and the sign. I would be focused on my freaking menu.
So what are the two differences in there? What all the stuff he was focused on was the ego need.
Yeah.
Look at my restaurant. Well, you forget that your menu is your baby. And so if you don't take care of your baby, people are going to be kicking your baby. Like, it ain't going to be good. You're not going to make money. And all this stuff that makes you feel happy is now stress because you don't have, if we look at it and say our menu is the heart of the business. And in my body, it makes, takes blood and oxygen and keeps me alive. Well, that's money in your business. It shoots the money to the kitchen to buy the food, to pay for the labor, to the front of house, pay the power bill, and so on and so forth. So if all of a sudden we put cholesterol in those arteries and we choke off the heart, we die. Yeah. And I'm a heart attack survivor, so I get it, man. It's an analogy I don't take lightly.
Yeah, what you said there, kind of hit me there too, because when you think about independent restaurants, like the restaurants I consume the most of, 80% are mom and pop independents. They're fast casual to casual dining. If they had market price on chicken, I actually joked about that one time with a restaurant, like, why do you guys price chicken wings? Because they were talking about how our wings came in too big this week, or they came in too small. The prices went up this much because McDonald's was trying to do wings and the prices were going to go through the roof. And I'm like, just do market price. I've seen it on beef. I've seen it on fish.
But Matt, this is where they lose it. Some point in time, chicken wings are going to be the 35, 38% cost of goods sold. The chicken knuckles used to be a wasted product. Now we got to have them. Unbelievable. Well, how about promoting and creating maybe your potato nachos, meaning your hand-cut French fries at a 5% cost of goods sold, merchandise it, sell the shit out of it. So it allows us to bring our food costs down, even if this one's high. That's what menu engineering does. We get all upset and go, oh my gosh, look at this one price. We often, as operators, want to beat the hell out of our reps and go, oh, I can't believe the price of this went up and the price of this went up. Well, you're donkeying off 7 and 9% because Lurch has a hand this big and you don't portion control. And there goes your cheese on your pizza and you're losing money every time. And it's usually, we never want to look internally. But the truth is we got to look internally how we operate, because most of those things that rip our profitability away are things that we're doing, meaning we're not paying attention to. It ain't the 10 cents a pound on cheese, because if I'm using the software or my spreadsheet and I upload my invoices and I see what it's doing to my menu mix, I could raise maybe my top item 25 cents, even though it doesn't have cheese on it, tomatoes or whatever it is that's gone up. But it's such volume that I don't have to raise every other price. And this takes really having system in your business, truly paying attention.
Yeah, I was watching The Profit a while back with Marcus Lemonis. I love watching shows like that. Like, I don't really watch TV unless it's either Netflix with my wife, or if it's like something that to me I can take something away from.
Sure.
And he was looking at a cupcake company, and this place, he's going through the process. They have great cupcakes, all stuff. He's like, what does this cost? And let me see the menu, the recipe card. Same thing you said. You probably read your book. And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, if you hand this to somebody else to make these. She's like, oh, it's in here, honey. He's like, oh my gosh. And then when she actually had to price out what it actually cost, she was blown away. Her margins were, she's like, oh, we're 30 cents. We sell them for $3. No, she was like $1.50 and selling them for $3.
Right. Yeah, no, look, I will tell you, in our industry, this is why menu recipe cards are so important. Name me an industry that looks at an item and goes, and picks a price right out of the rear end. The restaurant industry. Like I go buy tires and I go in tire retail store. There's a stack of tires and there's a sign that says what the tires are. Now, yeah, they got a computer with every tire in the world. But do you think that manager woke up that morning, got ready for work, came into the office, poured himself a cup of coffee, sipped that coffee, came out of the office, looked, put the coffee cup down, stared at the stack of tires and went, $350. Or do you think that manager knew exactly what he or she knew exactly what it cost and what they needed to sell it for to make money? They know. But in the restaurant business, we got Sally with the great chalkboard writing, fettuccine Alfredo. Hey, chef, what's today's special price? I don't know what we charged yesterday, $13.95. $13.95. We wonder why we're not making money. You got to be kidding me. Do you know what I mean? If you don't know what things cost, and if it's too hard, then you're in the wrong business. Because it ain't hard, it's time consuming. That's the reality of it.
I mean, everything consumers buy probably outside of food and maybe consulting services like you and I. I mean, there's a hard cost to some extent, but not like there is in the part. But you look at cars and stereos and TVs. I mean, they come up with the price based on, hey, we want to sell this for a 60% margin. That's right. It costs this much for the manpower and the products, and here it is. But you're exactly right. I see that all the time. One thing, really, to chime in there too, I wanted to ask you your question on this. You mentioned about products that have high potential margins that people don't think about. My podcast, MPTV, this past week's episode aired. A guy named Rex St. John up in New Albany, Indiana. He's got a little mom and pop like Americana Dairy Dream, and one of his top sellers is one of his employees a few years ago decided to take the cotton candy mix for like their snow cones and put a squirt of it in Mountain Dew. And I've had it; it's unbelievable. And he's like, next thing we know, we're selling 500 a week. I mean, it's literally a 20 cents of Mountain Dew and a squirt of this, and he's selling it for a premium. And he's like, people come through here 3 to 4. This is their coffee. Yeah. And I markets the heck out of that because it's something unique to him, and it's something that people don't have a price point in their mind for.
That's where I talk a little bit about how in your menu, in your restaurant, you better have one item to die for. Like if you don't have a signature item, now let's say you're in a New York and there's all these pastrami sandwiches, but yours is to die for. If you're a Mexican food restaurant, it could be a margarita. If it's at a restaurant that's near a movie theater or whatever, and you've got this, triple layer chocolate cake to die for, that people go, I'm going there for that one item. If you don't have that, I give you a D in the restaurant business. You got to have that one thing that you are known for. People like, that is it. Yep. Hopefully it happens, organically. But sometimes you just got to make it, push it, and make people love it, which means you take care of your guests and so on. But now it's a premium. See, in our industry, it's not supply and demand. It's just demand. There's always a supply. Yeah.
Yeah. And the what about marketing of it? Because that's, I don't know how much I didn't see a whole lot in the book on marketing. I don't know that's what the book's about. But I was looking the other day, I was doing a webinar, and I have access to a former client's Facebook page still. They just, somehow I'm not off there yet. And I'm like, oh, this is a good opportunity to kind of showcase a company that has an amazing, it's my second favorite restaurant. I won't mention them. They have a great, very unique menu item. And so I was doing a webinar for about 100 restaurant owners. I was walking through and I said, let's talk about what you're posting on social media, because there's things that you're known for and things that people love about you. Well, this particular restaurant, every third post was either wine or fish tacos or something like that. And I'm like, you know what this company's not known for? Those items. Right. Everybody I know that goes to this place orders this one item guaranteed. And so I went to the back of their analytics and I said, I'm going to show you. Like, my accountant always messes with me. He's like, Matt, I give you a profit and loss for your agency for a reason. Look at it. Figure out how to become better. I'm going to help you become better. Well,
numbers don't lie.
Yeah. Social media is the same thing. I pulled up go to page insights, pull up the post details, and I looked and I showed them. It was like over 30 days, they had about 50 posts. Like 45 of the 50 were these items that, to me, the restaurant is not known for and will never be. It's just, for whatever reason, somebody they've got to push fish tacos and wine night. And you look at the posts, reach way down, engagements 1. You go to this particular item they're known for, and a couple other items like draft beer, through the roof. And I'm like, this is the thing. Like, don't just randomly make Facebook posts. Look at the numbers and figure out, 1, why is that so great? If people are raving over that item, talk about it more often, get them involved. And they're like you're saying, make sure you're charging enough for it, because if people are raving over it and coming for it, it shouldn't be the loss leader.
So one of the things you point out, and again, marketing is not my thing. I can help marketing. I'm an ops guy. I'm the make more money on the dollars you got coming in kind of guy. But what you said there is an operational issue. That's an owner going, I want to expand our sales. And let's say I'm a sports bar. We need to have entrees. And we push really hard. Chef, give me entrees. Kitchen manager, give me entrees. Nobody's buying these entrees. Only the owners are eating the steak. You're like, what the hell is the story here? Because that's not what your customer wants. How about talk to your customer, survey them, do the online media things, ask them, what do they want? Give them what they want. It's not what you want. And we spend all this time and money trying to push this change the image. Oh, we've got wine. You're a freaking sports bar. It's 1% of your sales. Who gives a shit? It's for the one woman that pulls 10 guys away. Oh, they don't have wine. You got to know who your business is, who's your demographic, and give them what they want. And that's really kind of the thing that I see in social media. A lot of restaurants are like, well, if I put it out there, I can get more sales on that. Not necessarily. Yeah. Like you talked about, give them what they want, get to know your guest, give them a little insight on who you are, a buy-in, because I think you'll probably know, because this is what you do, is those restaurants that truly had social media presence were hurt less than those who went, Facebook, I need freaking Facebook, right? When the COVID hit, because they had a bond with their guests. It wasn't all about promotion. It was about connection.
Oh yeah. You're dead on there. I analyzed, I have hundreds of Facebook pages I can look at. I analyzed for about 3 weeks the data. And I actually called a few of them, and I called my clients and said, hey, I'm going to call you on the carpet. I've been telling you to do this for 6 months, for a year. I'm going to give you the cell phone number of these 3 guys that are crushing it. And I'm going to send you links to their posts. The one guy who's not a client anymore, he's trying to sell his restaurant. He's a great guy, but it cracked me up because he was never personally talked about his restaurant on Facebook, never posted, like his business stuff was all with his hand out. It was always how the customer could spend money with him.
Right.
And then all of a sudden when COVID hit, 5 times a day, 7 days a week, his personal page is loaded with these posts of come to his restaurant. I'm like, man, talk about Johnny come lately. Now everybody, it's like kind of insincere. Like now you're begging for people to come out. The people that I know that did really, I had many clients that were up, like sit down restaurants that didn't have sit down anymore, that were up 8 to 15%. Because they had made a connection with their
client to support them. Yeah.
On a product, on a personality, on a relationship.
Yep.
So
there's no difference in anybody's business. It's about a connection. It's truly taking the time. It's understanding that the world has changed. It's a lot of old farts like me and older that want to fight it. Not me specifically, but my age, 50 and above. And the truth is, you got to embrace it. I mean, think back when Instagram came out. A restaurant would be like, these freaking Instagrammers, you got to be, they're taking these tables up. They're spending 30 more minutes. Get the shit out of here. Now we're like, oh my God, chef, make sure that's Instagram ready. I want people to post, like take a picture. You know what I mean? Like don't be behind the curve, be ahead of the curve, right? Here comes the wave. Do you want to, if you're a surfer, do you get up momentum before the wave comes, as the wave hits you, or as it passes you by? It's before. Yep. And too many of us are looking rear view mirror and go, the wave already passed. It's gone.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what you're talking about with what systems and procedures have helped me for my business do is get ahead of the wave, because now I'm not stuck working in the mud. I'm actually running my business. Like I had a friend of mine tell me one time, and I don't know how true this is, but I trust him. He's like, Matt, if you go to a McDonald's and you do not see the manager standing in this one place observing, it's a poorly run McDonald's. That manager, the minute you walk in there and they're on the fries, they're on the window, they have failed because they're not actually running the restaurant. They're now working in the restaurant, and working in the restaurant isn't what that manager should be there doing. They should be there making sure everybody else is.
Well, that's when you understand your role as an owner is, again, budgets, marketing, developing your team, right? That's what you're supposed to do. If you are on the line doing, then we got a problem. Now, let me throw that out the window and say for the first 8 weeks, this getting into COVID, the working on your business, not, working in your business, not on it, where I wanted you were working in it because you had people going away. You did whatever it took as an entrepreneur. You're going to make it survive. Yep. But now we're getting to a point where we're opening dining rooms, depending where you are, what state, what phase you're in. I am seeing some restaurants that, because they pivoted and added to go and curbside and the delivery apps and all these other things, that they're seeing their sales back with half their seating out on the patio, 50%, because they created a new revenue stream. And now they're back to a point where we go, okay, I've got to work on my business, not in it. Let's bring employees back. But the problem is, if you don't have a system, a process, a way to doing everything, you start running again. And it's truly what a difference it makes when you can sit back and say, look at my numbers, look at my people, assess them, and lead. And I will tell you, that's one of the biggest things restaurant owners, the most successful restaurant owners I've ever worked with, are leaders in their business. You have to be a leader. And if you're not, if you're a victim in your business, man, systems aren't going to matter because you aren't going to put them in place.
Yeah. No, I agree there completely. So I guess wrapping up, my last question for you is about menu, the visuals of menus, because that's something like I was at a restaurant recently and I was blown away. They got new menus, and this was before COVID. And I remember opening it up and just the colors popped, some things were positioned, and it just stuck out. Whereas I go to like the Mexican restaurant down the street from my house, and it's like I'm reading a book from history class because it's like 40 pages, it's like 20 pounds. What are some of the do's and don'ts that you've seen in the menu construction as far as visual?
I was going to say the what we can't be is Cheesecake Factory. They're like the only restaurant that I know that could have pages upon pages because they have two lines of people. But who's the first one to put a letter out to the landlord? We can't pay rent when COVID hit. Was these big monstrous restaurants. So we want to look at, how do I reduce my food costs, create consistency in my business, and happy guests. And that's reduce your menu down to 35 menu items or under. Now, if you're a sports bar, we might be hitting 65. But the days of 100 menu items, you don't do anything well. You suck. And, you know, there's concepts out there, Chipotle, here all over the country. You've got on the West Coast, In-N-Out Burger and other places that have like 2, 3, 4, 5 items that have lines of people that, you know, Chick-fil-A, what do they sell? Same damn thing, but lines of people because they are so consistent, so good at what they do. And so it's when we get that lower, we reduce the number of items we have on our shelves, reducing our cost, reduce opportunity for risk from theft, waste, spoilage. We now have better trained cooks. I can have a lower wage cook because they don't have to remember 100 menu items and certain ways to plate and do. They got 35 items and they come in so often that they're consistent with it all the time. Then when it comes to layout, is truly understanding the only way we can do this, by the way, is with actual up-to-date recipe costing cards. We can decide if I have 10 items, 5 by each for my friends from Philly, the first, second, last will outsell any other one. First, second, last. Well, how do I know what to put there if I don't have that? You know, if I box an item, it'll outsell the first, second, last. And if I put a picture in it, a by God good picture, it'll blow everything out of the water. And it's truly understanding your menu and using the science behind from eye movement, that if I have a 3-panel menu, my eyes kind of do this, and I have my 3 passes on the right-hand panel at the top. Single panel menu from the middle up will sell the most. So I'm going to put the salads all the way at the bottom. Well, wait a second, David. It's what? Appetizers, soups, salads, sandwiches, entrees. Who said? And here's, by the way, when I'm going to put this appetizer entrees in the top half and the salads are always at the bottom, I always remind people the rabbits will find their food. You know, I don't need to promote salads. They will, I need a salad, right? They'll find it. And so it's using proven menu of strategies that are truly, there's a book you can get out there. It's fantastic. It's where I really learned 20 years ago called Menu Pricing and Strategies by Pavasic and Miller. Like, it's a textbook, but it's awesome. It'll give you all the things you need to know to really get it done on your own.
Cool. So are you, how can people work with you? How can they find you? How can they support you?
Well, got a lot of different ways. One, if you're somebody who just wants to dip your toe in the water, go to my YouTube channel, David Scott Peters. And I will always, every week, there is some tip to help you become better in your business, from managing your people to making money. Otherwise, you can find me at davidscottpeters.com, my namesake. And there's a how it works tab at the top, and it kind of can show you what I do. Well, I'm a restaurant trainer coach. I've got group coaching programs at all different levels to help people from one-on-one to, hey, you just kind of want to peer in from beside. Now, the other part is I do want to say that if you truly want to tip your toes in the water, when you go to my site, there are 2 things you can do. One, you can book a free session with me, a half-an-hour coaching call with me. Otherwise, the free evaluation, the restaurant free evaluation, is powerful. You're going to take about 15 minutes of your time. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions that are really just kind of click here, click there, click there. When you're done, you will click a little button. It will produce a 25-page PDF that is customized to the areas of opportunity based on your restaurant, the systems you have in place and you're missing. And I would tell you, like I said, we don't have to go from meeting and dating right away. You want to dance around and find out whether I'm the right guy for you, which I'm not right for everybody. I just like to think I am. Hey, dip your toes in the water. Go take the free evaluation. Watch my free YouTube stuff. Check out my blog. Get on my phone for free, and I will work with you. Because again, I'm here to help everybody the best I can. But like you, I've got a business, and at some point in time, I hope we do business. And otherwise, the book, hey, for $13 now, it was 15, but Amazon took me down. You can learn exactly who I am and what I think, and I will give you a full plan for success with that.
Well, I love it. So like I mentioned, if you're watching now, and we'll say till July 1st. So till July 1st, I've got a copy of the book. I'll mail you, and I'll mail you some other goodies. We've got a whole litany of orange apparel back here that people might enjoy. But yeah, I appreciate your time. And, I go back to the boat dealership days of when we had our 20 groups. And I think it's a missing factor in most small businesses is getting out of their kitchen and getting in a room with like-minded people and, putting the kitchen behind you and running the business behind you and hearing why Joe, Mike, Chris, Paul, why this dessert item's working, why this menu item's working, why their profitability's up. Do you still do those type of groups?
No, I'm talking about bringing one back with my Mastery Plus members are really my one-on-one coaching people. It's a lot of work for me. I used to travel on a quarterly basis to each other's restaurants, and it's magical. But one of the things why these were the most successful people I've ever worked with is they were willing to put themselves out there and have people say, you're an idiot, but then take the shirt off their back and help each other. I'm an expert because I say so. But there's no better resource than the people who are walking the same circle that you walk to go, hey, I feel your pain and I fixed it. And here's how I did it. And so 2020 groups, mastermind groups, whatever you want to call them, they are powerful. But you've got to be willing to share, be honest with yourself and everybody else around, and be willing to learn because we don't know everything. The moment you meet somebody who says, I know everything, run like hell. I learn every single day, man. Well,
cool. I appreciate your time. Unbelievable stuff. I mean, 10 times more than I knew I was going to have a great conversation from the book and from, I've absorbed your content. I've been on YouTube. I look you up, follow you all over the place. And so, I appreciate this. And anybody out there, I highly encourage you, go to davidscottpeters.com, sign up for the free consultation, buy the freaking book on Amazon. Even if you win mine in a couple weeks, you'll have 2 copies. You can gift it to a friend whose restaurant needs help and needs to prosper. So I appreciate your time and have an amazing weekend.
Thanks so much. Appreciate the opportunity, Matt.
Thanks, sir.